In a life-threatening medical emergency, a North Branch couple called 911. Little did they know the ambulance bill would be thousands of dollars and not in network for their insurance.
And you may be surprised to hear that Minnesota patients are actually more likely than not to get those surprise bills. Lauren Lemanchik explains why.
This is Sauger County 911.
My wife is having a medical emergency.
At 4 a.m., a 911 call from a North Branch home.
I don't even know what her issue is. She's screaming in pain.
In the background, Mary Snow screams.
Just needed help.
And when I came out,
Paul Hegestad remembers seeing his wife on the living room floor.
just writhing in pain.
And I just have never been in that much pain before.
Mary had a serious blood infection.
I just didn't feel like I could move.
Her system was shutting down.
Ambulance showed up, they did their thing, they took her to the hospital, and I thought, wow, I'm sure glad we have our insurance to cover everything.
But what Paul and Mary did not know, the ambulance service assigned to their area, Lakes Region EMS, is out of network with just about every insurance carrier.
And that's a big chunk of change.
Here's the bill, $5,674. United Healthcare paid just over $1,000, leaving Paul and Mary stuck with a $4,630 tab.
Once I got that bill, I called United Health Group and said, what's the deal? And they're like, well, it's out of network.
Twice he appealed, twice shot down. The last letter from United Healthcare said it was a final appeal.
But who's going to tell me who's in network and who's not? And who cares at 4 o'clock in the morning when your wife is on the ground screaming?
And here's the thing, even if someone did tell him, they wouldn't have had a choice of provider. Minnesota law spells out which ambulance service covers your county, but it doesn't require that insurance cover it.
How often are ambulance bills out of network for insurance in Minnesota?
Often.
Susan Long with the Minnesota Ambulance Association says the reason comes down to money. Ambulance services in Minnesota are struggling to stay afloat, and Long says too often insurance doesn't pay them enough for services.
Most of them are small ambulance services, which just don't have the negotiating power to go to an insurance company and to get rates that are sustainable for them to continue their operations.
United Healthcare argues ambulance providers often charge too much. In Mary's case, they point to a bill of more than $5,600, when a state report shows the average emergency bill in the metro, including Chisago County, is between $1,700 and $2,000. So who's stuck in the middle?
Very scary.
Minnesotans, like Mary, in a moment of life and death.
I just don't think it's right.
There's a federal law called the No Surprises Act to stop surprise health care bills, but it leaves out ground ambulance. 22 states have fixed that, but not Minnesota.
This has to get done.
State Representative John Hewitt has a background in EMS, so he understands the business.
You had your worst day of your life, and then you end up having this surprise bill come in. It's not good.
And thinks the answer is something that will take sacrifice from both sides, setting the rates for emergency ambulance providers and forcing insurers to pay them.
Who wins? I don't know if anybody wins, but we got to make sure the public wins.
Both the Ambulance Association and insurers say they're willing to work on a solution, but it will have to wait until next legislative session. Until then, Minnesota patients like Mary may find the heart attack comes after the ambulance drives away.
You shouldn't have to worry about whether your ambulance ride is going to be covered when you're in a life and death situation.
After 5 months and multiple appeals, just hours after we contacted United Healthcare for this story, Mary and Paul got a call saying they'd cover all of Mary's ambulance bill. The company says they negotiated with the provider to reduce the rate. And they tell us the timing is just a coincidence. For KARE 11 Investigates, I'm Lauren Lemanchik.